Welcome to Living Springs Retreat Live. I'm very happy to be with you all on another segment of Natural Remedies. This time, our guest is going to be Ron Meinhardt. He is my go-to guy on Natural Remedies. You're going to love him. Load up your questions. What are we looking for remedies on today? And it's going to be a lot of Q&A. We want to hear you guys. Oh, we're struggling with this. What about if that happens? Natural remedies galore tonight. And speaking of which, I have one of those in my hand. I was just at the dentist today, at the dentist, and they go by and there's these hand sanitizers everywhere in hospitals, and the nurses are going by and the hygienist is going by, click, click, get that a little, and it smells bad, right? So I'm like, okay, let's put out some nicer smelling stuff. This is, of course, at the Living Springs Retreat store. You got the citrus scent, you've got the lavender scent. This is Revita Hands. And when you spray that right on your hands, it's a natural alternative to that alcohol-based, gross hand sanitizer. So just keep that in your purse, in your pocket, in your center console, in your car, or whatever. And that way, we're doing preventive things. We're always on the defense. I got to fight this off. What am I going to do when I fight this off? And I'm always telling you guys about the Revita Guard, of course, at the LSR store as well. That one, I don't have to fight things off because I catch it early enough where it's like, ooh, I think I feel something in the throat. Do that. Take your hot, cold showers. Our guest, Ron Meinhardt, I see that he's here. We're going to bring him up and talk about natural remedies. I want to talk about hydrotherapy with you today, Ron. Talk about how to do these showers properly. What kinds of lifestyles should we just have as the foundation so that we don't get things as much and don't have to deal with them, fight them off, have a remedy for it. So there's your today's program. Welcome to our show. We're going to talk on natural remedies, the most popular subject on the LSR network. So happy everybody's here, and tell us where you're from. We'll welcome you. We'll give you shout outs. And I know we have a global audience, so I'm saying good evening to you. But our guest, Ron Meinhardt, is actually presently in Japan. Ron, what time is it in Japan right now?
It is actually 9:02 a.m. So
All
bright and
right.
early.
That's great. That's great. Well, I know that this is something that's close to your heart. This is a work of yours, a life mission of yours to help people with their health. So, I want people to kind of just get to know you a little bit before we dive right into the questions. Um, Tell us, how you got into helping people with natural methods of healing and prevention and lifestyle, and why is this important for your life's mission?
Okay, I'll try to make this brief because I know we do want to talk about natural remedies also. I'll just start with nursing school. I had a great experience in nursing school, learned a lot, but also saw some things that I really questioned. That was mainly why are the patients not really getting better? And especially when they're just medicated, surgeries, you see some progression there. But this whole concept of just doling out pills for illnesses and having the patients come right back, we call them frequent flyers. And the other nurses would chuckle when in our nursing report, oh, such and such frequent flyers come back, and we'll give them the same nurse, same room, everything. And I was thinking something doesn't sound quite right about that. Why is he coming back? And that probably was one of the initiators of the question that I had, which was, are there better methods? Besides from education, that's a foundational element, and helping people understand there are healthy lifestyles that will prevent and even reverse many of these chronic diseases. Are there other modalities that are alternatives, viable alternatives to pharmaceuticals, especially? And as a nurse, I really had that question because that's basically what I was doing, by and large, was giving out pharmaceuticals and seeing the side effects and the adverse reactions and all these things. And then realizing that I was not alone, that there are documented reports of medicine being, even by some reports, the fourth leading cause of death in the United States.
Wow.
You
Wow.
you wonder, are there better approaches? Are there better and simpler methods? And then seeing relatives that went to the hospital, even my own personal illnesses, right out of nursing school, and realizing how toxic many of these therapeutics are. One of my relatives almost died from misdiagnosis, and then just being filled with all different types of antibiotics. And once I kind of caught on, and I called the infectious disease doctor and referred information to him. He said, stop all the medications, and guess what? She got better.
Hmm.
So medications that we're giving, the modern pharmaceuticals, even though there are very stringent guidelines and recommendations and these types of things, they're inherently, many of them or most of them, inherently toxic.
Hmm.
And so that kind of got me thinking, are there non-toxic approaches or less toxic approaches that could be equally as viable? And I started to learn about things and implement them in my own life, and started to embark on the journey of being a dad, and having children of my own, and dealing with their little aches and pains and ailments. And as I progressed, just started learning more and more about natural remedies, and eventually decided I was going to leave clinical nursing and start focusing on evangelism and lifestyle medicine, and learning more about natural remedies and sharing this information. So that's what I've really been doing for the past almost 16 years.
And how many in-person speaking events have you done? And then I want to mention, I remember you doing viral remedies
Yes.
before COVID happened and saying, we're about due for a pandemic, get ready. So folks, you've got a really special guest with you tonight. And I say that, to God's glory. But I know that at one point you were on airplanes and in airports, most weekends of the year, weren't you?
Mhm. Yeah, my family and I traveled. Uh, Really, it started after the near miss with the Ebola pandemic in sub-Saharan Africa. I believe that was 2013. That was really what propelled us to start traveling, because I realized the public health response to that near miss really was very deficient. And I started my local church, and that was successful. I created a little online experience. We called it Pre-Bola,
Hmm.
and that became very successful. And I realized, hey, here's a niche, and I'm going to jump into it. And we started traveling. Also, was propelled by the loss of our rental home. Our rental home up in the mountains of Idaho was sold, and we decided, hey, let's put everything in storage and let's travel. And we actually got things out of storage 7 years later. Yes, we were traveling every single weekend. We were in a different place, pretty much,
I
and it was a
forgot
great experience.
that you were with your family that whole time.
That's right.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I did some of that with my family. We had a very similar, 7 years or so there. You and I crossed paths
hmm
a few times speaking
Yeah,
at
we
the
did.
same event. But a lot of time I was doing the airplanes and airports thing and the family's back home. So
hmm
what a delight to be able to, and I know the folks listening to this, you are a part of a mission as well. Because you learn these things for your own life, but then everything you're excited about that you're learning that's helpful to you, what are you doing with it? You're like Dr. Sandoval said, it's the law of life. It's that which is flowing through you to others. So that's what this is all about. And folks from all religious backgrounds, of course, are welcome here. Ron's been doing, Christian medical evangelism, and I just think that's the most beautiful thing. That's what Jesus did, just caring about people. And so Ron, I know you've got probably some insights for us on natural remedies. I want to save
hmm
as much time. Like if there are already questions, let's weave questions right into whatever you might have prepared. And also, we didn't get a chance to discuss before, and our producer didn't get like a URL or a QR code ready for you. But I want you to give people where do they go right here at the beginning of the interview. How do
hmm
people learn more from Ron Meinhardt? What's a good YouTube channel or a good website URL where they can get in touch with you and learn more of what you have to teach?
Probably the best way to find out what we're up to is enteringwedgemedia.com. This is our media production arm of our ministry. And we're actually working on a couple documentaries. One I've been working on for the past 12 years, dealing with the healthcare crisis and God's solution. And there are many interviews that are posted there that are very much relevant to a lot of the things that are going on today. And we also have a new documentary we're working on. We're actually in Japan right now, Scott, as you mentioned. and we're looking at the Christianity, early Christianity, and persecution and modern secularism that's plaguing Japan right now. So that's kind of a family affair, and we're all here and enjoying our time. We're halfway through our experience. We've been here 2.5 weeks. We've got 2.5 weeks left.
All right. All right. Well, let's dig into some of your content on natural remedies, and then Jeremy will just throw the questions up as we proceed here, and we'll tackle those as they come.
Sure. Well, I'd like to start out with just a disclaimer, and that is that if you're taking medications right now for some serious chronic disease like high blood pressure or heart disease, then you really need to talk to your doctor about shuffling medications around for natural remedies, because you could have rebound hypertension, your blood pressure goes through the roof when you stop these medications and that kind of thing. Uh, Modern pharmaceuticals are very, very powerful in their ability to affect physiology, and that needs to be taken in consideration when making changes. So a good person to talk to is your physician. If your physician does not approve of natural remedies at all, then you probably should try to find a different physician.
Right.
And they might not be educated on it, but you can bring them the research. You can bring them, the information. The drug companies do it all the time. They have advertisements on the patient's favorite TV shows, and the patient goes and said, "Hey, I want to try this." Well, how about we try bringing natural remedies to our physicians and say, "Hey, I want to try this."
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So when you've helped people with their health challenges, what are some of the most simple, powerful remedies that you're just like, okay, everybody's got to have this on hand or get or know this tip?
Mhm.
What are kind of your two or three favorites? And then after that, I also want to transition to, just a few minutes on living a healthy lifestyle so you don't get as many ailments that you need remedies for.
Okay, that's a good topic. I think I'll kind of blend those in if you don't mind,
Sure,
because
yeah.
I also needed to give another disclaimer, and that is natural remedies will only be as effective as your willingness is to engage in a healthy lifestyle, because it's using natural processes, is not usually forcing the physiology. And so healing, you could recover from a lot of ailments such as diabetes, heart disease, even many types of cancer, just by following a very healthy lifestyle, even without some of these natural remedies per se. A healthy diet is a natural remedy.
Oh,
Exercise
okay.
is a natural remedy.
Yeah.
Breathing fresh air is a natural remedy. A lot of times we think of, well, what herb or what plant in particular, but we can surround ourselves with a healing atmosphere when we engage in a healthy lifestyle. And to be truly effective, these simple isolated things we're going to mention need to be taken in the whole context of uh, proper exercise as well, getting enough sleep at night, the whole paradigm of healthy living. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into some of my favorites, my favorite natural remedies. Now, I'm here in Japan, and I had to make a very important decision. What natural remedies would I bring with me if I'm limited on the weight of my suitcase, and already, I've got so much stuff I have to bring. What's going to be in Ron Meinhardt's suitcase? How about that? I'll tell you what I did bring. What I did bring, I brought some high-powered garlic supplements, and this can be just garlic is really what you need. So I really didn't need to bring it per se, just convenient to have the high-powered supplements as opposed to mincing up the garlic and taking that. But the garlic was one thing, because it is so helpful for almost everything you can think of. I used to travel with Dr. Agatha Thrash. I worked at Uchee Pines Institute for a number of years, and had the privilege of traveling with her during my first 2 years of being there, and learned so much from her. And one of the biggest things was natural remedies. And she pretty much wrote the book on garlic, literally. Her book on home remedies has a whole chapter dealing with the medicinal benefits of garlic. And I used to love her presentation on garlic. I can't take credit for this. I'm not going to give it verbatim, but I'll tell you basically what she would say. She'd stand up in front of these audiences and say, "Garlic, It's anti-high blood pressure, it's anti-high cholesterol, it's antibacterial, it's antiviral, it's antifungal, it's anti-cancer, it's all these antis, right? And then at the very end, she said, and it's also anti-friend. So yes, it is anti-friend because it encourages social distancing without without the coercion. It's
Yes, very
self-induced social
important.
distancing. If you just want to try one little clove of garlic to test that theory out, you will see. Yes, if you are not self isolating to some extent, then you will be. Social pressure will be put upon you very quickly, but
Now
not with
you
coercion.
should take that clove, and that's just a little tiny piece of the bulb, right? You should take
Yeah,
that clove on an
yes.
empty stomach or with food.
Well, it depends on what effect you want. If you want a very severe emetic effect, then take it without any food.
You need to explain
uh,
that. Explain that to
yes,
the layman, please.
and unfortunately, I did try that once and just took one little clove of garlic on an empty stomach, and my stomach felt like it was on fire. And in fact, if I had not eaten something right away, I would have the garlic would have come back up. And that's a known effect. You have to eat it with something else because it is a very potent little natural remedy. Now, that being said, I must mention, because I have promised myself and I promised someone else, I would never give a presentation on the benefits of garlic without really clearly defining what a clove is and what the adequate intake of garlic should be. Dr. Agatha Thrash, in her book Home Remedies, in the chapter on garlic, recommends 1 to 2 cloves of garlic, raw cloves of garlic per day. Beyond that, you start to lose the efficiency against bacterial infection that garlic inherently possesses for some odd reason. So 1 to 2 uh, cloves of raw garlic are sufficient for a daily intake for medicinal purposes. Now, what is a clove of garlic? I must answer that question because I had a presentation. This was in Arizona a number of years back, and I mentioned the benefits of garlic as I'm mentioning today. And there was a very enthusiastic middle-aged man who decided he was going to try garlic. He might even be watching this. And for you, sir, I'm mentioning this to everyone. Um, and he went home and had some garlic. Well, he came back and he came early as I was setting up my computer, maybe like half an hour early. And he said, Ron, I'm never doing that again. And I think that I kind of recognized what he did. As soon as he walked in the door, there was kind of a hint. And I kind of took a step back and said, what did you do? And he said, Ron, I had the garlic you recommended, the 1 clove. And I took another step back and said, oh, what was your concept of a clove? And he said, that round thing, And I said, no, no, that was a bulb of garlic. Please don't ever do that again. 1 to 2 cloves. The clove is the thing that's about the size of your thumb, your thumbnail. It's a very small piece of garlic. You break it off from the bulb of garlic. Please don't ever, anyone watching this, never recommend a whole bulb of fresh garlic to be
No,
taken internally.
no, that's terrible. And by the way,
You will
Ron, we lost
regret
your
it.
video. We've got your audio. Your audio is coming through really nice and loud and clear. And when we had your video, it's excellent video. But your black screen. Ah, you're back. You're back.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
You like
Okay,
elderberry too? That's up on the screen right now at the LSR store. Do you like whole elderberry? Like you make an elderberry syrup, don't you?
we do. And it's actually
Yeah.
very easy to make if you have the time and the desire to do so. Otherwise, buying it from LSR probably is a great option.
By the way, I
Elderberry
didn't
is
mean
one
to
of those.
get you off garlic. I know that
No, no,
you're
no.
like, this is my favorite thing is garlic.
Yes,
And I
yes,
wanted to
yes.
return also to the mincing of it. Is that important? Is it cooked versus you mentioned raw? It's got to be raw. Does it have to be
Yes.
minced or can you cut it up into like little, tablets and just swallow them? And then you didn't please finish your comments on elderberry too, because I did interrupt
Yeah,
you
yeah,
there.
yeah. No, no, no. Elderberry is one of those top probably 3 of them that I don't have any with me, but I should have brought it. But yeah, garlic. There are various ways of taking it, and studies have found even the garlic powder. You think the powder you put on your food, that is actually good for reducing hyperlipidemia and and cholesterol and that kind of thing, and decreasing the size of plaques in the arteries, studies have found. So any way you can take garlic is probably going to be beneficial. But
Okay.
if you want to get the best broad spectrum effect, Agatha Thrash actually recommended doing a combination of some cooked garlic and some raw garlic. Now,
Hmm.
keep in mind the cloves of garlic, the 1 to 2 small cloves of garlic are sufficient for the raw garlic intake. You could steam garlic. That's a really nice way of taking garlic in a cooked way, but not destroying a lot of the antioxidant effect. But yeah, chewing it up, you could chew a clove of garlic if you like. You could mince it, you could cut it. Really, any way you want to take it, just as long as it's relatively fresh, you're going to get more of the antioxidant
And are you
properties.
recommending taking it regularly? Like this is part of your lifestyle, just like your nutrition, water, exercise, sunlight, temperance, air, rest, all of that you mentioned. Is this one of those foundational daily things, or is this something that you transition into in, at least in greater quantity, like make sure I get my full clove or two once I feel
Mhm.
something coming on, or if I'm exposed to something in the airports,
Mhm.
is that something you do all the time?
Well, I'll tell you, if I did it all the time, my family would be
Yeah,
they'd be complaining a little bit about that. So if I lived on a desert island, sure, I'll take it every day.
fair enough.
It probably wouldn't hurt to take it every day. Now, keep in mind it may thin the blood a little bit. Almost every fruit and vegetable has some type of blood thinning ability, and it's not necessarily that it's a blood thinner, but it regulates the thickness of the blood, helps with the viscosity issues, and helps platelets not to be over adhering to things. So
Okay.
it's just a normal fact. But when you throw that into blood thinners, that's when you run into issues because if you're on a blood thinner, yeah, you want to talk to your doctor about using ginger and garlic and that kind of thing. But for the
Ron,
average person, it's something that probably could be used every day.
I do want to just jump in. If you have a way to reset your video again, it's frozen at this stage. But
Okay.
yeah, great content on the garlic and having it cooked daily in every dinner and every entree almost imaginable is, I mean, garlic is such a good flavor
Hmm.
in your cooking. So, we eat a lot of garlic. I'll get it out and, cut it up into bits and swallow it if there's something going around. A friend of ours minces it and spreads it on a piece of toast. And I'm like,
Oh wow.
yeah, that's a way to get it. I guess if it's more oxidized, she's like big on that. Like me cutting them up into little squares isn't gonna do quite as well as her method of mincing it. Oh,
Hmm.
welcome to Kaleidoscope Eyes from Knoxville, Tennessee. I just drove through Knoxville. That's great. Or around it. Nikki from Australia. So it must be morning there as well, probably, huh? And Frenia, hello from Georgia. I just drove through Georgia too. Good to see you there from the South. And we do have a question, but I know you've got more of what's in your suitcase. Let's resume that in a second. But what do you recommend as a remedy? And again, this can go just back to lifestyle things too, but a
Hmm.
remedy for GERD/acid reflux.
Okay. Yeah, that has a lot to do with lifestyle. One of the biggest things is not having supper.
Hmm.
Because and it may take a little while for your stomach acid to start or your stomach to start realizing, hey, there's no supper meal, and you may have some issues with some reflux going into the evenings until you get used to 2 meals a day. But um, at least avoiding heavy meals in the evening, definitely avoiding fried foods could be helpful with that. But there are some natural remedies that have shown to have very good potential for dealing with GERD. One of my favorites is for gastritis in general is aloe vera, and not just any aloe vera. I found very good success with aloe vera juice. You can find it from a number of different brands, but make sure it's not like 90% sugar and 10% aloe vera. You want to
Yeah.
get actual aloe vera juice, and you can find it without preservatives, with just a little lemon juice in it, and that's very helpful. I found for You could probably even run it through a juicer if you wanted to. But keep in mind that aloe vera does have some uh, properties to it that, unless treated, it can lead to more of a um, uh, well, it kind of uh, increases the movement of the bowels, and
Hmm.
you can have diarrhea resulting from it. So the aloe vera juice that I found, they usually will treat it in such a way to remove some of the, I believe, some alkaloids that are in it that could have that effect. So that's something to keep in mind. But not maybe why you wouldn't want to juice your own. But that being said, another really potent natural remedy for GERD that I found is something called D-limonene.
Oh
And
yeah.
D-limonene, it may sound like a chemical. It is a chemical, but it comes from orange peel, grapefruit peel, mandarin peel, tangerine peel. It's actually the primary component of the essential oil from um, orange and grapefruit and many of the citrus fruits. So, for instance, orange essential oil, I believe, is anywhere from 85 to 95% D-limonene, and grapefruit maybe a little bit more. So, don't think, well, I got to go out and get D-limonene. Well, if you just have orange peel, I mean, orange peel is kind of tough to eat. Mandarin peel is a little bit easier, and I've done that before. But that is tremendous for GERD in terms of at least anecdotal evidence. If you want to find out if something is working, a natural remedy is working, it's good to have peer review. And peer review studies are looking at doctors' takes on, or researchers' takes on the effectiveness of these remedies. Well, you can go to a website, and if they're being honest and allowing the reviews to really come forward from individuals that are taking this, you can find some pretty good evidence there that, hey, maybe this would help me. If you go on Amazon right now and you look at the D-limonene supplements, you'll find that many people have been helped. Many good testimonials there dealing with GERD and the taking of D-limonene. And you can buy it in capsule form. You could take it, a couple drops of orange essential oil from food grade essential oil. You could take some of the peels. You could take some dried orange peel and make tea out of it. And just make sure you cover it, because D-limonene is volatile, so it will evaporate out of that tea that you're steeping. So put a saucer over it so that the D-limonene stays there in the tea. But a lot of people have found good effect with GERD related symptoms with the D-limonene. And that being said, D-limonene is also a very potent anti-inflammatory. In one study, they found that it was more powerful at 0.02% than dexamethasone, which is one of the most powerful steroid medications known to man. And so at 0.02% concentration, is very, very powerful. So that's something to keep in mind as well. It has other benefits. Uh, Anti-cancer studies looking at breast cancer found there was even spontaneous remission of one individual's tumor because of the intake of D-limonene. So it's very
Wow.
well studied. In fact, there are research articles that are written asking, why is it not being studied more extensively for things like breast cancer, seeing it has had effect in the scientific literature, good effect in the scientific literature. So
Yeah.
good thing about a lot of these natural remedies is they're broad spectrum, just like garlic was. It's so good for fighting bacterial infection, and you may think, well, that's what I want to use it for, but it also could help with lowering blood pressure and
Hmm.
and fighting other types of infections as well.
Well, Ron, while I mention your camera to you again, I'll what you got right now is your laptop camera, not the one up. Yeah, so it's good to see you. He's looking down
Yeah.
at us again. But this delimiting thing, I don't know if folks know, but Ron Meinhardt actually innovated a method of using D-limonene that personally has helped me. It's transdermally, and I don't know, Ron, if you have this. LSR store ought to pick this up. The uh Eliminate is it's a skin cream, and I've used that for injured the back or tendonitis or whatever. And so this stuff, it is powerful, that orange peel. And by the way, I should give Ron some credit and some shout out for this RevitaGuard that Revita Living products line came out with a few years ago that folks have been getting at the LSR store. And I think it's back in stock now. So I know that that's been a popular item, 4.9 stars. Like you mentioned, when you read what people are experiencing with it, like, yeah, it actually works. And Ron, thank you for helping. I don't know if you want credit for that, but thank you for helping with the formula on that many years ago. And it's got stuff in it that we can't say on this platform. Did you see that on YouTube? Like, what was it, like 2 or 3 years ago, where it's like, you can't mention these these particular natural remedies. So we could talk about almost
Yes.
everything, but the one in there that's kind of like gold and silver, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think we can get away with that part. But you are talking about very simple. I mean, a lot of folks are able to buy the products and go to LSR store, and that's wonderful. We've got overseas folks and people who maybe just are on incomes where they can buy a thing here or there, but
Hmm.
buying a clove of garlic, buying an
Hmm.
orange, that's
Hmm.
accessible to most people. So I
Yes.
just praise God for his healing methods, most of which are simple and affordable. And other things like I don't see another question up. I do want to welcome Shannon in Louisville. And we do have another question, but I want to guess what else is in your suitcase. I have a guess, but
Sure.
let's
Go
get
ahead.
let's get Rosa Sharon. She's saying, good night. What can you use natural for high cholesterol and to maintain good levels?
Okay, that is a good question. And in fact, I'm going to answer two questions with that one response because I know you're going to ask me about this, Scott, because I know that you think that I should have this in my suitcase. So,
You know what I
um,
was gonna guess?
uh, probably. I mean, there are some that I know you think that I'm going to have, but activated charcoal is
That's the
definitely
one.
going to be one of those.
That's the one.
So, activated charcoal, a number of years ago, they did a study, I believe it was in the Soviet Union, and they were looking for ways that, communism got to centrally plan, and they were trying to centrally plan medicinal remedies and production of medicines. And they studied the use of activated charcoal for high cholesterol. And what they found, and they use a lot of charcoal. This is not necessarily my suggestion, but they use 3 tablespoons of charcoal, I believe, a day. So in divided doses, you had 1 tablespoon in the morning, 1 tablespoon in the at lunchtime, and 1 tablespoon in the evening. And what they found was after 1 month, a decrease of LDL cholesterol, I believe it was 41% decrease LDL cholesterol. And it raised HDL cholesterol by, I believe, 8%. Now, at that time, there was no statin medication that could reduce HDL cholesterol that fast and that effectively.
LDL.
LDL cholesterol, yeah. So since then they've high powered some of the statins, and yeah, they can get to that result in the 1 month time. They can reduce LDL cholesterol by 40% or so, but they come with a tremendous amount of side effects. Now, the side effects that were reported in this study, that was published in the British Medical Journal, by the way, but the side effects that were reported were, quote, negligible. What does that mean? It means there basically were no side effects.
Yeah.
Now, one of the most common side effects from taking charcoal is constipation. That's just because, yeah, it's kind of gritty and it's sticky, and you need to have enough water to make sure your bowels are, the bowel fecal content is moving properly, enough fiber as well. But activated charcoal is one of the very, very best remedies that I have seen in the scientific literature for decreasing cholesterol. Now, here's another one, and it follows the same line as charcoal because cholesterol is produced by the liver. You don't just have to consume it. So, of course, reducing cholesterol intake is important for cholesterol levels. But you can be taking in cholesterol. If you don't have enough fiber, you will be basically consuming your own cholesterol day in and day out. And the reason why is because the bile contains cholesterol. And the bile is secreted by the gallbladder, and the gallbladder contracts when food or liquids enter into the small intestine. Why? Because it needs to change the pH from acidic to more of an alkaline pH, and it also helps to break down or emulsify fats. So it's part of the digestive process. But I believe the body was never intended to, or the diet was never intended to be devoid of fiber. And the reason why is because if we do not have fiber in the gut when that process takes place, we will reabsorb the cholesterol that we have put out in the bile. The bile is, in many ways, it's also waste. And because the liver detoxifies, it puts out a lot of the toxins through the bile with the hope that we'll be intaking fiber or maybe activated charcoal to bind to that to that toxin or to that cholesterol. And if it's bound by the fiber, a soluble fiber in particular, or the charcoal, it will be eliminated through the bowel movement. So if we do not have enough fiber in the diet, we will also have high cholesterol potentially, even if we're not taking in cholesterol, dietary cholesterol. Now, Hans Diel said it best: to know if something has cholesterol in it, it has either a mother or it has eyes. So yeah, eggs do have cholesterol because they had a mother, and fish does have cholesterol because it has eyes, but avocado has neither. So avocado does not contain cholesterol, but it can increase cholesterol just because of its fat content. And if we're not having enough fiber, now don't worry about avocado. It's the avocado oil probably that would cause that issue because there's no fiber in avocado oil or coconut oil or these other oils. But the plants that contain fat are not going to really cause major issues with cholesterol. It's when we take fiber out of the plant-based equation, then we can have issues also with cholesterol, even on a plant-based diet.
I'm a big fan of fiber. I think it really, just that one word solves so many of our problems.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a question, remedy for leg cramps. And then, by the way, Ron, feel free to return to revisit sorry, I almost said it. The activated charcoal,
Yes.
because you
Yep.
mentioned that for cholesterol and answer that question, but I suspect that the charcoal is good for other things as well. But
Mm-hmm.
first, let's get this question while it's on the screen.
Yep.
PT asks, yeah, remedy for leg cramps.
Okay. Leg cramps can be caused by a number of different things. I would say one of the primary causes would be just overuse. Another one could be underuse. So there you have a remedy right there, either resting or going for a walk, exercising. But it could also be dealing with electrolytes. Magnesium probably be the biggest culprit there. They have a spray, magnesium spray. If you don't want to take magnesium internally, there's a spray that is, I think it's from a ancient seabed. They take the magnesium there and add some liquid or some water to it, and you can actually apply that directly on your legs, and that has helped a lot of people with leg cramps. Um, Other foods, nuts and seeds are high in magnesium, so try including more of those in the diet. Um, there could be other causes as well, but I would say that probably primary causes would be overwork or underwork or electrolyte deficiency. There are other herbs that are calming, maybe help you get a better night's sleep and help the relaxation of the body. Magnesium, of course, is one of those. It's not an herb, but a mineral that does help with relaxing smooth muscle. But natural remedies could be things like valerian root, when taken half an hour before bedtime, increases the productive aspects of the restorative nature of sleep and helps us to spend more time in deep wave or slow wave sleep, which is very good for the brain. It's good for preventing autoimmune conditions and that kind of thing. So sleep is hugely important for things like leg cramps, and making sure you're having adequate sleep as well. One of the biggest detriments to sleep is caffeine use. A lot of people don't realize, but even one cup of coffee in the morning time can disrupt slow wave sleep at night. and you may be asleep, but your sleep quality is not good because of this disruptors. There are other disruptors, a high fat meal, especially right before bedtime. Your brain needs to be alert and processing that food, especially when you've got a lot of fat there. There's a lot more that has to take place in the stomach, and as I mentioned, with the bile secretion and even the pancreas. So the brain has to take care of all that, and it has to be more alert. So the slow wave sleep is deficient when you're having very large meals right before bedtime. And things like this can result in leg cramps because we're not sleeping, we're not getting the growth hormone to restore and repair muscles and that kind of thing that we should during the restorative aspects of that nighttime rest. So I would say a comprehensive approach to leg cramps would be ideal, starting with adequate exercise, not overdoing it, but adequate exercise, a good healthy diet, and then maybe a simple supplement like magnesium. Now that brings to mind a very important point as well. I need to make it dealing with all these other natural remedies, and that is that these simple remedies should not be thought of as a cure-all. So you might have the leg cramps and might reach for the magnesium spray, but the leg cramps may persist when the magnesium spray is, we stop using it. We want long-term remedies. We want not quick fixes, even though it's good to have immediate remedy. We want something that's going to endure and give us lasting health and lasting healing and remission from many of these diseases. And the good thing about natural remedies is they can be employed along with these lifestyle modalities for the long haul, and some more than others. Things like garlic, as I said before, could be taken almost every day if you really want to deal with the social aspects of it. But other remedies such as licorice root is very powerful, it's antiviral. In some studies, a licorice extract actually caused remission of AIDS, at least in the titers of the virus. So very, very powerful antiviral. But guess what? It also increases blood pressure and significantly in some people. So it should be used with caution. And even in ancient medicinal practices like Ayurvedic medicine, licorice root is looked upon as something to only take in emergencies and in small quantity or smaller quantities because of that effect. So it's important to know which one of these herbs to use and to use it using the principles of temperance, which are the moderate use of that which is good. So knowing what that use is important for each one of these herbs that we may decide to take. And then also abstaining from the things that are harmful. There are certain herbs that we don't want to take. I would never recommend the internal use of poison ivy. That could be deadly. So we just need to be aware that there are even some natural things that we should stay away from.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Shanna asks about sinuses, which of
Mhm,
course reminds me of, I don't know if Ron, you've been keeping up with our Revita Living product line, but
mhm.
after you inspired us on the throat spray, we did the same main ingredient that shall remain nameless with the iodine, just a little bit of iodine in there for up the
Mhm,
nasals for a sinus condition infection. We're not diagnosing, treating, or curing anything, by the way, in this
mhm.
program, start to finish. Make sure that's in here. But
Yeah.
other than that iodine plus the what spray in the
Mhm,
sinuses, what else do you do for sinuses? And then also the same question asked about allergies. So that's a
okay.
big topic, I know.
Oh,
So
definitely.
tackle those as you're able.
Sure. We'll start with sinuses. Just a acute case of sinusitis. You get congestion in your sinus. It could be a sinus infection, could be allergy related. The very, very best remedy that I've ever found, and this works amazingly well for me at least, and for everyone that I've recommended it to. Fresh eucalyptus oil, and this is essential oil. You want to make sure it's fresh because any essential oil that is rancid, that's been sitting on your shelf for a long time, exposed to sunlight and air, it's going to have the opposite effect that you want. It's going to be an irritant. So you want fresh eucalyptus oil, and you put this on a cotton ball and you just hold it by your nose and you just deep breathe. And you'll know when you're done, when you can stop, because you'll be able to breathe freely. It's so amazing. It's within, I would say, 15 minutes, you start to have a tremendous effect. And I don't know the exact mechanism. I just know it works very well. Eucalyptus is anti-inflammatory. It does have some antibacterial properties as well, but it works amazingly well for acute sinusitis, for just that congestion. And when I've used it, it doesn't really come back. It's not like, you get the nasal spray that has these decongestants that you get the rebound congestion in the sinuses afterward. I haven't had the same effect with eucalyptus. So that's my first step. But let's talk about allergies in general. You can have
Hey,
allergic.
hey, Ron, before you
Yeah.
transition to allergies, I know this got popular a few years ago. Do you recommend that like nasal spray where you're like flushing your it's like a neti pot? Is that something that you recommend?
I have no issues with it. I found relief from it. Um, but I'll tell you, I found the eucalyptus works even better.
It's more
I don't
pleasant
know.
too.
I
It
don't know
smells
the
great.
mechanism, but it really works, and it
Okay, you
works
can talk
very
about
well.
allergies.
Yeah, the neti pot is kind of uncomfortable for some people though, because it is a very strange sensation.
Yeah, I don't need to
Eucalyptus is a little.
waterboard myself.
Yeah, that's right. Eucalyptus is a little easier to do, I think. But yeah, in terms of allergies in general, I grew up with childhood allergies, and I took just about every type of antihistamine that you can think of, at least 20 years ago plus, that was on the market. And they helped. Someone put me to sleep, someone make me irritable, and these kind of things. And I can remember my very first anatomy and physiology lecture that I was sitting in college, and hearing about histamine and realizing that it actually was a component of a healthy immune system. It's just with allergies, you got kind of have a out of control histamine response. And I went down after class and I asked my professor, I said, I've been on antihistamines for pretty much my whole life because I have these terrible seasonal allergies. I'm allergic to dogs and cats, and we have them in our home. And I've just been on these antihistamines my whole life. And I said, am I decreasing the effectiveness of my immune response by doing that? And my professor looked up at the ceiling a little bit. He said, you know what? Yeah, you would be.
Huh.
Because you need histamine in its proper place and proper time. Because it actually helps to dilate or increase the space between the cells lining the capillaries so immune cells can go through into the tissues that are infected. When you stop the histamine, you basically you're decreasing the mobility of your immune system, and that could be potentially very dangerous, especially with localized infections and immune cells needing to go to those areas. So I started looking for alternatives, and I tried just about every single thing you could think of. I tried the licorice root, nettle tea, stinging nettle tea was helpful. Vitamin C is a natural antihistamine. Just drinking water also dilutes histamine levels, which could be helpful. But there's one natural remedy that stands without a peer in terms of its ability to decrease allergies and even to stop allergies. We talk about allergy season. Well, I used to look forward to allergy season as a time where I just would be suffering for months. But now if allergy season comes around, I start getting some allergies. I know how to shut down the whole season with just one day's remedy, and also a good follow-up, of course. But this is what it comes down to. There is a ketone. It's called beta hydroxybutyrate. And don't think you need to go buy this because your body produces it naturally. And this is really the part of the reason why it's so helpful for allergies when it's produced in the body by the body itself. It's produced as a result of daily exercise. So you get it whenever you're burning fat, and you burn fat through exercise, or you're fasting. So when you're fasting, your body turns over to producing energy via basically burning ketones or producing ketones. And beta hydroxybutyrate is one of these ketones. So I decided, okay, I had this one particular very bad reaction to some tree that was in North Carolina one season. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try something a little different because nothing is really working. I'm going to try this short little fast and see if that helps. And by about 16 hours into the fast, my sinuses dried up, my eyes started to clear up, and they were not as red. And I realized, hey, this is something's going on here, something's working. And guess what? The allergies did not come back that season.
Wow.
And I decided I was going to look into the mechanism behind this. And by the way, the reason why I did the fast because I was drinking some things that were not water, non-water beverages. I was drinking some coconut water. I was at my mom's house, and she had this basically like a pallet of coconut water. I don't know where she got it from. She's like the best shopper in the world. And when she finds deals, she finds them. And I was drinking this coconut water, and after about a week of this, I started having these severe allergies. And I looked at the coconut water, and it had sugar. I added sugar into it. And I realized, hey, maybe my blood sugar has just been elevated too much, and that's decreased my immune function, and that's why I developed this allergy. And so I'm going to try the fast. And sure enough, the fast worked. Well, I decided I'm going to look into the research, and I found, sure enough, there are research articles that show, they were done on mice, I believe, that showed that 18 hours into this ketogenesis, into this fast, 18 hours, a tremendous drop occurred in the allergic hypersensitivity reactions that these mice had. And
Wow.
even to severe allergens, they were basically immune to them. Once the hydroxybutyrate kicked in and it elevated at about the 18th or 16th to 18th hour of that fast, you had this severe or oh, I shouldn't say severe, just amazing decrease in allergic sensitivity. And that holds true for humans as well. I've tried this many times, recommend this to many individuals. And
So,
it
Ron,
comes, yeah.
let me just jump in with a question about that, and then I want you to finish. But is it that the benefits begin at 16 to 18 hours, and then you want to be carrying it on for a few hours past that to make it a 24-hour fast or something? Or, a lot of us do a 16-hour fast every night,
Yeah.
on a 2 meal plan. So
Hmm.
are you recommending, a little longer than that when the season commences? And then a second question that came up about this is you said with some follow-up. So
Hmm.
what you were probably going to get to that, but yeah,
Yeah.
carry on.
Yeah. Good questions. So basically, you can carry it on. You're going to start to see symptoms decrease at about 16 to 18 hours, according to the research and according to my anecdotal experience. About 16 to 18 hours. You may want to carry it on, but of course, don't go back to eating donuts and sugary beverages. That's just going to throw you back into the same situation. It deranges the immune system. So, and there are aspects of the immune response that are responsible for decreasing allergic sensitivities, like the natural killer cells, which are hugely important for fighting things like viruses and preventing cancer, but they're also important for preventing airway hypersensitivity reactions. We see that with asthmatics. And an unhealthy lifestyle just destroys natural killer cells. So, healthy lifestyle is huge. The follow up would be following up with getting a good night's sleep and all the aspects of healthy living that we know of, but also, and importantly, exercise. You don't want to have to go through life fasting all the time because you're not going to have any energy. And some people do that. They do what's called a ketogenic diet, and there are detriments to that long term. That they just try to make sure they're burning fat all the time, and there are detrimental aspects of that. And hormonally speaking, it's a nightmare, especially for males. Estrogen levels go off the charts.
When you
But
eat a bunch of red meat, which is
well,
supposed to make you a real man, right?
it's true. It's true. Yeah, you'll be getting enough protein, but your estrogen levels will be elevated. You need carbohydrates in there. That helps with that whole paradigm. But in terms of the exercise that should be followed up with, it should be long term. Like stretch out to like 30 minutes because you're going to start really burning fat at that point. So long walks, jogs, swimming, biking, something like that to pick up, especially during allergy season. It's amazing. When I started running, I used to be severely allergic to cats, and that was my worst allergy. In fact, there were a couple times I thought I was going to die because I was in the house where a cat had been, and my throat started to swell up, almost like anaphylactic type reaction.
Wow.
But severe allergy to cats. I started running every day. Well, not every day, but maybe at least once or twice every week, and in some cases 3 times a week. Just depends if I was training or not. And I noticed something after the first summer of doing that. I started to get around cats and even pet cat, no allergies, no sensitivities. And I believe, this is my personal belief, if we lived a healthy lifestyle, we wouldn't have to worry about allergies. Allergies will be dealt with by the immune system. It's because of the derangement of the immune system, the unhealthy lifestyle, too much sugar intake, not enough fiber intake. That's why we have these allergies. And there are individuals that say, well, you got to just take antihistamines for the rest of your life. I don't want to do that. I'm beyond that. I have not taken an antihistamine in probably 20 years.
Oh,
And
that's
I
awesome.
haven't needed it. Yeah, I did struggle there a little bit trying to find something that worked. But I'm telling you, fasting for me has been the most amazing remedy. And then following up with a healthy lifestyle and exercise, and most amazing remedy for allergies.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for that, Ron. That was the best 10 minutes on allergies I've ever heard.
Awesome.
1979 says, I want to learn how to make elderberry syrup. I have 4 elderberry bushes.
Okay. All right. Well, disclaimer here, elderberry does have cyanide compounds in the seeds of the elderberry and also in many parts of the plants. Now, the berries themselves are edible, but you want to cook the berries because that will help to release any of the cyanide that's there. Now, I'm not making this up. I'm not being over cautious because I have had elderberry with cyanide in it, and it gives you terrible gastritis. You'll know, nausea and vomiting. It's a terrible experience. So it's something to be cognizant of. So if you want to make your own elderberry syrup, here's what you have to do. You harvest the elderberry after the first frost is the best time, and it's because the elderberry just falls right off of the little spindle that it's attached to. Now make sure you've got elderberry because there are some berries that do look similar, like pokeberry and other berries that are some people say they eat it on salads. I wouldn't eat it. It has a lot of toxins in it, a lot of toxic alkaloids. But elderberry is an edible berry when it's prepared properly. So cooking it is important. What you can do is cook it in a little bit of water. It does have a liquid inside the berry, so you don't need to put an enormous amount of water, but you don't want the berries to burn. Simmer it over like a low heat for a couple hours should be sufficient. And during the midst of that, take a potato masher and just mash the berries gently. You don't want to blend the berries up because that will release cyanide again. If you do blend it, you need to cook it again. And it's unnecessary. So I would recommend just mashing it and then continuing with the simmering process. And then you can add your glycerin to it, put it in a jar. So you've got probably about 60% glycerin to your berries and your water, and you just let it sit for a month and shake it up every day in the mason jar. And after a month, you just strain it through some cheesecloth and maybe a t-shirt cloth, and it's done. It's very simple. It's very cost effective. That's a way of making elderberry syrup. Now, if you want to just make an elderberry remedy, that's even easier, and you have elderberry, you can cook the elderberry down, mash it again, make sure you're cooking it well, not breaking up the seeds in a blender, and causing the cyanide issue, but cooking it properly. Then you strain the juice out from that, press the juice out from a cheesecloth, and pour it in an ice cube tray. Then you could take that ice cube tray, put it in the freezer, and now you have fresh elderberry, concentrated elderberry juice. Just take out one ice cube, put it in a cup, let it melt, and there you've got your little remedy. So that's another way of making it, which is even easier, and some people prefer it to taking the glycerin tincture or the elderberry syrup.
That's great. Oh, thank you for
Mhm.
that tutorial.
Yeah.
And what else? Let's throw this one in there. And you can answer Leslie's question about garlic. She's asking, should you chew the garlic clove or swallow it? So
Mhm.
do that, but also tell us. We've been in suspense of what else is in your suitcase,
Yeah.
your go-to items
Yes.
as you're traveling to Japan.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll answer that first question. Garlic, I would not recommend swallowing it whole. If you cut it up a little bit, it might be easier. But just chewing it with some food is sufficient. And it's not going to be the most pleasurable thing to chew it by itself. And I don't think it's necessary to do that. You could, honestly, the easiest way I found to take garlic is to just mince it up a little and put it with something that I like to eat and chew it up in that mouthful and swallow it. You don't necessarily have to have garlic promulgating your entire plate. Same thing with turmeric, and that brings to mind another thing I have in my suitcase. I used to
All
start taking
right.
turmeric by just sprinkling it all over my food. I did that a couple times and realized I don't like the taste of overpowering turmeric with every single bite that I take. And so I'll take maybe a teaspoon of turmeric and I'll mix it with a little bit of food and I'll eat that food and I'll be done with it. And I don't have to have that overpowering turmeric taste with my whole meal.
Do
So
you
yes,
have
I
to
do
have
have.
it with food, or can you take the powder, just, throw it in some water and drink it in, half an hour before a meal?
You can do that as well, but it probably will absorb better if you take it with food. Just the curcumin compounds, the alkaloids that are there in the turmeric are not very water soluble, so it's good to have some fat there so they can emulsify. And natural emulsifiers like coconut, whole coconut, coconut milk, avocado, soy milk with the lecithin there could be helpful for increasing the absorption of the turmeric. Now, a lot of people will take turmeric with black pepper. And the reason why is because black pepper causes a tremendous inflammatory response in the stomach. It causes a lot of blood flow because it's such an irritation. And yeah, you do absorb things better in the stomach, but it's because of the massive irritation. So I don't believe we should take one step forward and two steps back by taking black pepper because it is an inflammatory substance in and of itself. Studies have found that if we combine the turmeric with a meal, with some fat, and also here's another one with some of the other components of the turmeric plant. So if you get a hold of turmeric leaves, you can have some turmeric leaf tea. You get some of the turmeric essential oil, which has been found to greatly increase the absorbency or the taking up of the curcumin compounds from the turmeric. So you're looking at more like a whole turmeric plant type of approach. You actually would absorb more of the curcumin.
Interesting.
So there are some supplements that stay away from black pepper. There's one at Terry Naturally, which I found to be the very best supplement that you can find over the counter that does not use black pepper, that uses turmeric essential oil and some emulsifiers like soy lecithin instead. But you can make your own. You just look at the label and say, hey, I'm going to buy some of those compounds and I'll make my own. And maybe one day we can even do a little demo. I have made my own rendition of their remedy. But I will say this, they do a great job with their remedy. The Terry Naturally turmeric is without a peer right now of anything on the market. And I've tried many other things. So, but
Yeah.
just taking the turmeric by itself is sufficient as well. You may just need to take a little bit more of it.
So we got more garlic questions. This one is if it's a garlic supplement. They sell them in the health food store. You take it, in a capsule, and is that going to be as good as like you were saying earlier on about the fresh garlic? It's better than nothing, is my guess. What do you say?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely better than nothing. Um, you wonder, supplements are not regulated, and sometimes you can even buy supplements that are not even the actual supplement. You can buy things on Amazon that are just forgeries, and I've done that. I've bought a few things and realized, hey, they spelled the name wrong here. It's obviously this is a knockoff. So I would say if it was a life or death situation, I would go with the actual garlic, honestly, because garlic is effective. And yeah, it's easier to do the supplement. And some of these supplements, like the Alamed and Alimax, they take allicin and they um, try to stabilize it. And apparently that works pretty well. And you can have a lot of the benefits of raw garlic there in a capsule. But I wouldn't risk my life on it. If I was really dependent upon the usage of garlic for, let's say, something like pneumonia, and I didn't have any other alternatives, and I did decide to use garlic as that remedy, I would go with the raw garlic because I know, hey, this garlic is garlic. I know what I
Yeah.
have in front of me. So I would say, yeah, you can use it, and it's going to be beneficial. Even in the knockoffs, they're going to put garlic powder in it. And yeah, garlic powder does have some benefits. Definitely better than placebo. So I would say use it, but at the same time, the raw garlic is, you know what you're getting.
It's cheaper
And
too.
it is cheaper. It's cheaper, easier to source. I could go to the store here. There are a lot of things I can't find here in Japan, but I have seen a lot of garlic. So I know I've got that remedy at hand if I need it.
Well, we've got another question, and then pair this one with another leak from the inside scoop on what's in the Ron Meinhardt suitcase. I think you got
Yes.
one more. We hit two of the three, but while you answer this, also remedy for liver and gallbladder.
Okay. All right. Well, it depends on what we're trying to do with the liver. If we're just looking for liver health, then a good one would be dandelion root. Dandelion root is also very high in vitamin. Well, the leaf is very high in vitamin K. But dandelion root helps with the detoxification of the liver. If you're looking to protect the liver from toxins, things like milk thistle are very beneficial. Studies have found that both milk thistle and dandelion root can prevent things like cirrhosis from happening, even with chronic alcohol exposure. Not that I'm recommending that, but you see the tremendous preventative effect of these remedies. That being said, there are other equally as important lifestyle modalities, such as intake of fiber with our meals, because that's going to help the liver to not have to um, deal with the same toxins or even the same cholesterol over and over again. And the reason I say that is because the liver does a fine job at detoxifying the blood and um, both from the circulation and also from the digestive system. The blood flows to the liver first and it detoxifies that blood as well. So the liver, it does a fine job, but it takes a lot of those toxins and puts it into the bile. And unless the bile is coming in contact with fiber, then you're just going to reabsorb those toxins and they're going to go back to the liver. The liver is going to have to detoxify the blood again with the same toxins. And you have this process called biomagnification of these toxins, and you can become very toxic just by not having enough fiber in the diet, even with taking things like milk thistle and dandelion root. So that's super important. Now, I mentioned D-limonene as a help for GERD, according to a lot of anecdotal evidence and even research studies. But I didn't mention that the D-limonene also has been found to dissolve gallstones. Um, and this was, of course, a in vitro study that they put it in. They put the gallstones in the D-limonene, and yeah, it dissolved them. D-limonene will dissolve a lot of things because it's a good solvent. But theoretically, just taking the D-limonene internally as well could help, at least in a small part, to soften those gallstones. Adequate hydration is also important for making sure that, or preventing gallstone uh, formation. So that's another important thing. But in general, healthy lifestyle, bottom foundational approach to ensuring a healthy liver. And then you add these simple remedies on, and could be a huge benefit for the liver. Now, charcoal also is liver's best friend because it helps you detoxify things from the gut itself. So you're actually aiding in the detoxification processes of the liver by removing some of those and giving it to garlic and not garlic, even though garlic is detoxifying, to activated charcoal. So activated charcoal could be helpful for allowing the liver to have a little bit more of a rest from the detoxification processes it normally has to go through.
Excellent. Excellent. And I knew you'd tell us more about the benefits of charcoal. It's just so versatile. But yeah, there it is. Remedy for hyperthyroidism, 19 years old.
Okay, that's a very good question. I have a whole handout that I send to individuals that ask me about hyperthyroidism. There could be a number of issues that are causing that, and it'd be impossible to address that in the scope of today's conversation.
Can you send that to me, Ron, and I can email it to them?
Sure, definitely.
Okay, send it to me. And folks, you know my email address. I've shared that a couple of times at least when we talked about media and stuff. Just my first and last name at gmail.com. So this young person or anybody who wants the Ron Meinhardt, comprehensive take on thyroid challenges. And we've had this conversation, Ron and I have, regarding my wife as well. So yeah, just email me, scottritsema@gmail.com. We will get you a really good, thorough answer to that we don't want to try to, cut you short on.
Exactly.
And Enid asks, or just says, amazing information. So thank you, Enid, if I'm saying your name right there. And Shanna says doTERRA is amazing. So yeah, Jeremy was putting the QR code up for the doTERRA essential oils, and that person is a big fan there. There it is again. And so Ron, while we're on that one, did we get everything in your suitcase? I'm asking you for one more. I think you said you had 3. You got the charcoal, the garlic. Oh, and the turmeric. That was the 3. We did hit the 3. Yeah, we hit the 3.
Yeah.
If you could have one more, what would it be?
Elderberry. And I didn't mention the effects of elderberry. Elderberry is actually also antihistamine. And a lot of people will take elderberry juice just for allergies. So that's a potential help there as well. But the reason why I would take elderberry with me is for its effects on influenza and potentially other viruses as well. There are a lot of really good, even double-blind, placebo-controlled studies that show that if you get the flu and you start taking elderberry, you have a tremendous decrease in the duration and the intensity of that infection. And in some studies, reducing the duration by up to 3 days. So who wouldn't like to have 3 days less flu if they come down with it? So elderberry, excellent for viral infection, in particular, at least that we know, attributing the scientific literature to influenza infection. And it is flu season.
Yeah. And Frenia says, thank you so much, Ron. All praises to the Most High. Amen to that. And another remedy that came to mind that you can take along with you on the road, you can do it at home and it doesn't cost anything, is just your shower.
Right.
You take your hot shower, end it with cold every single time, and you won't be cold after your showers ever again. That's how I can pitch this to you. 30 seconds of torment makes the next 5 minutes super pleasant. That's an easy trade-off to me. But then if you're exposed to stuff or you're fighting something, don't just end your shower with cold. Do the 30 seconds of cold, then go back to a minute or 2 of hot, and then back to 30 seconds of cold, and toggle that back and forth, alternate that back and forth. What, 3, 4, 5 times, Ron, till you're tired of it? Be careful.
Yes, definitely. And I have to put a disclaimer there, because some people do have it's called a vasovagal response, and they'll faint in the bathtub because of that tremendous cold. So if you've never done it before, start mild, see if you can even tolerate it. But there was a study that was done by a number of health professionals, Adventist health professionals. I believe Walt Cross was one of these. He was telling me about this.
We had him on LSR live.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, love that.
So he said the greatest effect on the circulating white blood cells after the hot and cold was when the cold water was basically directed towards the back and the spinal area. So I don't know if that was the top of the back or the lower back, but that's where it really gets you too. I mean,
Okay,
if you put
wait.
that cold
So
water on.
should you not be dancing around in there
Oh
when you
no,
do
no,
your
no. The
cold?
dance is good. The dance is
Okay.
good. But if you have to choose your battles, that's
Okay,
the one
right
place
there.
you definitely want to get that cold water.
Got it. Got it. Well,
Hmm.
Jeremy, do we have any more questions, or Ron? I know you could do a 6 hour lecture on all the remedies for everything, and all the lifestyle changes that we've got to make. But yeah, Celeste did mention red yeast rice works on high cholesterol, so that's appreciated to a commenter to chime in on the high cholesterol question. And that warm lemon water on an empty stomach is good for reflux. So thank you for chiming in on that as well on that, Celeste. Appreciate that. And Shanna's back with addressing Ruth and regarding the GERD, that she drank a glass of water with a lemon wedge and a teaspoon of ACV in it, apple cider vinegar, I imagine that stands for, every morning before eating or drinking anything, and within a month, her GERD was gone. So, do you think you need the apple cider vinegar, Ron, in order to solve that?
I know some people have used it to good effect. It could just be the acidity. So you
Okay.
could just try the lemon juice, lemon water. Lemon water does wonders for the liver, and it's probably a good thing to start any day with. That's one of those go-to remedies. Lemon water. You wake up every morning and have some lemon water.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, it's a good way to start your day. You got to start your day hydrated. Start your
That's right.
day hydrated. I don't want to say that too
Mhm.
fast or it sounds like dehydrated. Fennel oil from doTERRA has been a digestive lifesaver. So yeah, the doTERRA, they're a big hot item at the store. Brenda asks, we'll take another question or two, and we'll take Brenda here. What do you use for neuropathy? My 94-year-old mother complains about her feet being numb.
That's a good question. First of all, circulation is really the issue there. So, foot massage would be helpful. I would avoid using really hot hydrotherapy type treatments because if you can't feel, then you don't know if it's too hot for the skin. But foot massage is probably without a peer. Could put some essential oils in there that are also good for circulation, eucalyptus oil, peppermint oil, that kind of thing. With a carrot oil, of course, like coconut or olive oil. Um, and then there's some nutritional helps that could be helpful in neuropathy. Now, that's one of the areas that we've had a hard time with in terms of natural remedies and remedies in general. How do you cause the nerves to kind of regrow? Um, there's compounds that are found in lecithin, inositol, I can't remember the exact type of that could be helpful in neuropathy. Plant-based diet, adequate circulation in general, and exercise. Very, very beneficial in general. But I'll say start with a good foot massage and see if that could help.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And welcome, Donna Lee from New Zealand. And you're one of the first people to say my name right. Oh boy, I'm not famous for that on LSR Live, so I got one right. Praise God. Rose of Sharon says, what are the benefits of Celtic salt and how often can you take it?
Celtic salt, well, it's going to have some more minerals in it, similar to like a pink sea salt or something like that. Um, I have heard that it's one of the best salts out there. It definitely is one of the priciest salts, but if you have the resources to obtain it, it probably is a good option. Um, Sodium in general, it varies on the amount of water you're taking in because water will dilute sodium levels. So if you're drinking plenty of water, if you're sweating a lot, you're going to be taking more salt. But salt, as a general rule, shouldn't be avoided totally because your body does need sodium. Just a matter of being temperate, finding that middle ground of moderation with sodium intake. Really.
Absolutely. Yeah, the moderation in that which is healthy. And she's got that. Shanna's got it. Shanna's got it. I've made steam bowls for my sinuses before, and it sure does help. So we love engaging with you guys. And I think, Ron, we're going to need to do this again.
Sure.
Because I mean, there's always going to be more questions. There are always going to be
Mhm.
more challenges that people have, and we can keep reiterating. I love how you always bring it back to God's basic foundation for our lifestyle health with our
Yes.
proper nutrition, good, healthy diet, plenty of hydration, exercise, plenty of time outdoors and fresh air, even indoors, fresh air, and proper rest. And that solves so many of these problems. And then you get all the little tricks woven in there, and it's just you get a lot of our problems, if not solved, largely mitigated. So thank you, Ron. And I'll leave the producers to line up our guests, but I'm pretty sure this experience has been a fan favorite, and hopefully we'll be able to do it again another time. And a reminder there on the detox course, that would be a cool holiday gift, I think. And you know, a 7-day thing start on January 1. You can do it with a family member, and it features Barbara O'Neill, of course. So you'll be able to have kind of that detox experience, a reset. But don't think, well, I'm going to detox on January 1, so I'm going to eat like a pig and be toxic in the meantime, because you're not going to have as much happiness. You know, eating junk food reduces your happiness. You've heard me say that many times. So make good choices, guys. These coming weeks in this holiday season, enjoy yourself. Have something special, something you don't normally get to have, but don't indulge in a way that's going to harm your health, because that's just not the path to a merry Christmas of any kind. So, any last words, Ron, before we sign off?
Well, there's that one aspect that we didn't touch on too much in this episode, and that is that keep your mind on the one who can heal and who does heal and who is uh, not even just able to heal, but loves to heal. Um, 3 John 2 says, "Beloved, I wish above all things thou prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers." So, besides these simple remedies and these lasting lifestyle choices, there's one that we can look to for ultimate healing and ultimate salvation, and that's Jesus Christ.
It's the most important thing that was said in the whole live stream, folks. Don't miss that opportunity to go to Jesus with your burdens, with your struggles, with your sorrows, with your stresses, and with your physical ailments. And he is the great physician. He heals mentally, spiritually, and physically. And speaking of mentally, we'll see you guys next week at LSR Live, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, for our next interview. Our next guest will be Raven White from Wildwood to discuss mental health. So stay tuned, set your notifications, and be sure to be there next Wednesday as well. Thanks to our producer, Christian Digital Network. From likes to lives changed, please scan their QR code there and subscribe to the CDN YouTube channel. Farewell from Scott Ritsema and Ron Meinhardt to all of you all around the world. Very glad to be your host and experience this with you each week, and we'll see you next time.